Hello, welcome back to the Viva Natural Health podcast. Today's episode might seem a little bit weird, a little bit different to the norm because I'm going to be talking about the heart's intelligence, not in terms of heart supporting foods, although at the end I am going to share a few tips and there is a certain type of food that can support the heart, but even on an energetic level. But more so in this episode, it's going to be talking about the emotional aspects, the connection with trauma, and elevated emotions like gratitude, love, and just this really inherent wisdom that our organs can carry. And the heart is probably one of the most powerful organs, and a lot of people say the heart is even more important than the brain, which it's like a chicken or egg situation because how can the heart work if the brain doesn't work? But how does the brain work if the heart doesn't work and it's not flowing and pumping blood? So I have just become fascinated when I've looked into this world. And it was Dr. Joe Dispenza and his connection and his work with HeartMath Institute, which is a non-profit organization, and they specialize in stress management, well-being. They do a lot of tests and they gather a lot of data, as does Dr. Joe, to scientifically prove the importance of things like HRV and mindfulness and meditation. So when I've looked deeper into this work and then implemented it in my own life, it has really elevated my health, my quality of life, my happiness, and it really just makes sense. But it's not something that we're taught. It's something that I wasn't hearing a lot about. And then when I started practicing it, I was like, everyone needs to know this. This is literally life-changing. So in today's episode, I'm going to share a little bit more about the wisdom of the heart and some really cool stories about the heart's intelligence. We're going to be drawing in the quantum field and how your heart's magnetism can actually help you to manifest your desires, your dream life, your dream health. It is so cool. And then towards the end, yeah, some of my top tips on how to connect with your heart because my heart for the longest time was completely closed off. And I would have never thought that because I'm such a kind and caring person. Even up until a year ago, 18 months ago, I work in health and wellness. I support people, I care for people. But I think since childhood, my heart has been closed off. And when I look back into why that was, I think it's from me suppressing my emotions because I thought that that was the best thing to do. I thought that I was stronger. I thought that I was safer and doing the right thing when I wouldn't cry or I wouldn't express my emotions. And then that just kind of festered under the surface, probably contributed a lot to the development of my chronic health issues when I turned 17, 18. And then I slowly started to realize something wasn't right. And when I finally worked on my heart chakra, unlocking some of these blockages that have been there for a while, I noticed the biggest difference. So I wouldn't have said that I was this cold-hearted person, but there was definitely a lot that was suppressed and locked away. And some childhood memories. One of my first ever memories that I had was at my granddad's funeral, my dad's dad. I must have been around four at the time, so I don't remember him massively. I know he was an amazing person. And when we were at his funeral, everyone was crying. And I just have this memory of me realizing that everyone's crying and thinking, oh, I'm not crying. I'm different. This is pretty cool. I think I felt a little bit superior and like I was doing something well because I wasn't crying, but I didn't actually understand what was happening. And to even see my dad crying, that was quite rare. So my brain, that was one of the first ever memories that I had. And I think that's quite significant. And then there was a particular trauma that happened when I was around 10. I'm not going to share too much about that because it involves more than just me. But in that experience, my heart really shut down. I felt very scared. I felt very emotional, but I felt like I had to stay strong for other people in that moment. And I didn't cry the entire time, even though I felt really upset and worried and scared. Didn't cry. Then just it became a thing where I wasn't the crier. So even my brother would cry more than me. We would be watching movies and something would happen, and I would purposely just force myself, hold back the tears that I was feeling just to not be a crier. Or there was a time that I was walking on a wall on holiday and I fell off and I cried then because I really hurt myself. And then I think my brother was like laughing at me a little bit for crying. Um, so then I was like, right, I'm never gonna cry again. So I shut down, suppressed my emotions, and now we know that what you don't release manifests as dis-ease in the body. So then no wonder other physical things happened in my late teens with the food poisoning, the over-exercising, the dieting that triggered the health issues, but I do believe there's always an emotional component. And for me, it was suppressed grief, suppressed sadness, and just not being in touch with my heart and thinking that it was bad to be vulnerable, to not share your emotions, to not share if you're struggling, to not feel like you can ask for help, to not want to bother other people because you don't want them to worry as well. So it's just keep everything in, stay strong, don't cry. And then I noticed that starting to shift. Well, it got really bad during my chronic health issues in my early 20s. I didn't really cry much then. There were maybe once a year, I would just have this big breakdown where I was just so fed up and frustrated. Remember one time I went on holiday to Cornwall. I didn't really love going on holidays because it just felt like so much effort. And I went to Cornwall with my family. I hardly went abroad, but this was, I felt more comfortable because we were staying in a B&B and I could take my own food and cook my own meals and everything, which is crazy on reflection, but I thought that that was what I needed to do. And there was one day that I just felt really jealous that my family were going out to eat at these nice restaurants and I was just eating alone in the hotel and they would tell me to come and tell me to just eat something off the menu, but I didn't want to. And then I just felt really frustrated. I felt really left out. I also just didn't feel great. I was absolutely exhausted. It's in St Ives in Cornwall, if you know. It's very hilly. It's a seaside town. We've done lots of walking. I've been in the sun all day, so I think I just felt exhausted, probably in pain. And then I also had a bug bite, and just one tiny bug bite made my skin so itchy and just felt like I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. It was that frustrating. So I didn't sleep all night. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know about the mold or deeper infections that were going on at the time. I just felt like that this is my life. And I'm 20 something years old. So then in the chronic health years, just when you're in pain every day, when you have chronic skin issues, when you're on the birth control pill, and then for the couple of years after that, when I stopped even, and my cycles didn't return, I was so disconnected from my emotions. I was very much in my head 24/7. I wanted to disconnect from my body because it felt more comfortable to do that. When I would pay attention to my body, I would just feel so anxious. I would notice all of the areas that were in pain, that didn't feel right, or the bloating. So I would purposely shut down my body and just live in my head. And it was me being in my head that helped me to get out of that because I just was constantly searching for answers. I wouldn't give up, and I eventually figured it out for myself. So that helped me being on my masculine doing energy, pursuing energy was great, but then I kind of stayed in that a bit too long afterwards and forgot to connect back into my body and my feminine energy and my emotions and my intuition and my heart and emotions like love. So the health issues didn't help either. That made everything worse. And then it wasn't until I got into kind of my first relationship when I was 26, just being in love. That wasn't, I wouldn't say that that was like real deep love, but the second relationship, my latest relationship, which ended in January, I would say that that was, yeah, real love and just being with someone who fully accepted me and knew all of my health history and my weirdness and my quirks and what I'd been through and did love me unconditionally and I loved them. That allowed my heart to start to crack open. And then I started to get deeper into the spirituality. I think that helped me just feeling like I could relax a little bit. My health was doing good. I could finally drop into my body a bit more. My hormones were balanced. I felt more connected to my gut and my intuition because everything was healthy and thriving in that area. And yeah, just being in love and feeling that happiness because for the longest time, that's all I wanted. With the chronic health issues, my dream was just to heal and find a partner and be in a relationship. And every day I would just feel so sad that I didn't have that. I didn't date for my entire 20, early 20s. And that was my number one goal. So when I finally had it and it was with someone that I really loved, then that made me really happy and allowed my heart to open a little bit. And I actually started to cry for the first time, which I was a little bit concerned about at first because it could just be when we're like cuddling or something and I would just start crying and he'd be like, is everything okay? And it would just be that I felt this overwhelming sense of emotion and sometimes I wouldn't logically know what was going on. But that was my body starting to release the emotion because it finally felt safe. And just with movies or when I became an auntie 2 years ago, that really cracked my heart open as well. Just having this unconditional love for someone and that nurturing, getting my dog, that really helped as well. Just get me back into my feminine energy and my body and these wonderful emotions and these happy states that I'd been desiring for so long. So those few things really helped me just being in a better state of health, me being in a relationship and experiencing love, and then me nurturing and loving my dog Norman, my niece, was just really starting to shift things. And I could feel just this lightness in my body. I started to do deeper mindset work, and a lot of meditations that I did have you connect into your heart. I started doing energy healing and they're working on the chakra systems of the body. And my heart chakra, my sacral chakra were often blocked. So rebalancing on that physical level or energetic level too. I just want to check, are you addressing the healing foundations? Not sure what I mean. Well, these are the important factors that I believe that you need to address in order to be in optimal health and overcome your stubborn health issues and symptoms, whether that's chronic digestive issues, acne, hair loss, period problems, weight gain, anxiety, fatigue. I could go on. Because I want as many of you as possible to have this life-changing information, I've bundled together 6 of my juiciest and info-packed masterclasses priced at just £111. Not only are you getting these recordings, which are between 60 and 90 minutes long each, on the following subjects: the power of the subconscious mind, stress, trauma, and the nervous system, supporting your female menstrual cycle, mastering your metabolism, optimizing sleep, gut health and detox. You're also going to receive my healthy groceries shopping list and my favorite non-toxic products guide, which are both usually reserved for my one-to-one clients. Whether you're brand new to the holistic healing world or you've been trying to work on things for a while but feel stuck, I can guarantee there's something within this content that will help you to understand your next steps and what you're missing. Sometimes it's something so foundational that's being overlooked. Get instant access to the Foundations bundle today for just £111 by clicking the link in the episode show notes, and I can't wait to hear about what you've learned. Grab your pen and paper to make notes and get started today. Then in 2024, last May, that's when I went on the first retreat and really started to embark on my spiritual journey. So my health was doing really, really good. And then I felt called to explore more spiritual. I didn't know it was more spiritual retreat when I went on it. I was sold by the name. It was a manifestation retreat in Mallorca, which just sounded really vibey, but it ended up being pretty spiritual. We were pulling tarot cards. We were having our body saged. We were having a lot of meditations and embodiment practices. And I did a full episode on this retreat. But as soon as we got there, we did a welcome circle where we all sat in the yoga shala in this beautiful location. And the retreat host, Alexandria, she put on some music and she said, we're going to do a nice heart opening meditation. And I started crying. And every single day of the retreat, I cried and felt like I was processing so much emotion. And at first, it felt uncomfortable. This was probably the first time that I've cried in front of people that I don't know. And it felt very, very uncomfortable. By the end of the retreat, I felt so much better, but it was still a bit of a difficult thing for me. And then after that retreat, a few months later, I turned 30. I just got into work of Joe Dispenza and started meditating every single day, sometimes twice a day. I was doing hypnosis. I was doing EFT tapping a lot more. And whenever a meditation would mention the heart, or it would tell me to tune into my heart center and focus on gratitude, I would start crying again. And I was like, what is going on? Why am I such a big softie? But I think it's also so wonderful. And just being able to conjure up those feelings in an instant, this is the real secret to healing, is being able to disconnect from your external reality, your 3D, your current life, and go inward and be able to make yourself happy, to be able to be your own sense of validation and not rely on external things to be the source of happiness. And that is also what led me then to end the relationship that I was in January of 2025, because I was just getting these intuitive messages then when I started to actually connect with my emotions. I realized that that relationship was no longer serving me. It was no longer what was meant for me in my future. In my head, it was telling me the opposite. And it was so afraid of being alone because I'd spent my entire early 20s desperate to find a relationship and find someone who loves me and I love them and get on with them really well. But when I actually started to hear my heart, it was telling me that that had served its purpose and it was time for us to move on and part ways. So that was a really difficult decision, but also really allowed me to trust my heart, because as soon as I made that decision, I felt a sense of relief. It was a difficult start to the year, but since then it has connected me even further to my body and just learning to trust myself again and knowing that I can be there for myself and also not needing external things and people and money or success to feel happy and to feel enough. And this is one piece of advice that I give my clients is enjoy where you're at and learn to be okay with where you're at. You can still desire changes. You might not be fully happy long term with where you're at, but can you at least find peace and find some things to be grateful for? Because otherwise, even when you do heal, you're gonna still have that internal wound and that internal thing missing, and you're going to start seeking it out from other places, which is a bit of a slippery slope. So that was my little journey of the heart work. And then I started looking into Heart Math Institute. So this is a nonprofit, as I said, and they have done so much research on the intelligence of the heart. So I'm going to share a few things now that I thought were absolutely fascinating. The first one is that the heart has its own brain. It has its own wisdom. It has its own intelligence. So that's why tapping into it on ideally a daily basis, but a regular basis, otherwise, you can start to really hear what you desire, your true desires, not your wants, but your true core desires and what is meant for you. This is kind of your intuition. We have intuition sometimes in our gut. We can also have it in the heart as well. The heart contains about 40,000 neurons and a complex nervous system, often called the heart brain. A lot of Dr. Joe's meditations are designed to sync up your heart and your brain and cause this coherent pattern. And in his visualizations, the best thing that I've ever learned, and one of the most powerful manifestation techniques, is visualization, but with also an elevated emotion at the same time. You can't just visualize something but have no feelings or no emotions present. That's not really doing much. He says that the thought sends the signal out, and it's the feeling, it's the heart that draws and magnetizes it back into your reality. So when you visualize and have on this little loop, you in the future, in 6 months, in 12 months, going about your day with your dream partner, going to the gym, feeling so strong, having clear skin, going out to dinner and feeling really relaxed, and you're dressed really lovely and you feel confident and you can choose whatever you want off the menu and you feel so comfortable in your body afterwards. Have that on loop and also feel into how you're going to be feeling when that happens. You're going to be feeling happy and free and elated and so grateful and so excited by life. And if you tune into that every day, the brain doesn't know the difference between something that's real or something that is imagined, and imagined with this strong emotion and a lot of detail. You want to try and make it as real as possible, looking through your own eyes in first person. And what can you smell? What can you see? What can you taste? Just really immerse yourself in that world. Second amazing fact is that the heart sends more signals to the brain than the other way around. It's the same with the gut. More signals come from the gut to the brain than the other way around. So we all think of the brain as this master system, which it is, but the organs can also be just as, if not more, powerful. The heart rhythms can affect the brain function and vice versa. So when you're feeling positive emotions of gratitude, love, inner peace, joy, it sends messages to the brain that we are okay. This coherence, when they're syncing in harmony, it can help us to have more mental clarity, more regulated emotions, and better decision making, and we just feel better overall. So we can influence our thoughts with our feelings, and we can create the feelings in an instant. But then our thoughts can also come first. We can choose new thoughts, and that can influence our body's sensations. The heart emits a powerful electromagnetic field that is even more strong than the brain. I think it's sensed up to about 6 feet around us. The heart's electromagnetic field, so this energy field around it, is 60 times stronger electrically and 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain, and can be measured from several feet away. The heart also plays a key role in intuition, and some studies suggest that the heart responds to events even milliseconds before they happen. And this supports the idea of the heart being involved in non-local awareness or intuition. And then Dr. Joe's work, which draws heavily on the HeartMath Institute, expands it to the field of quantum physics, epigenetics, and neuroscience, and he views the heart as a gateway to personal transformation. He says that the heart is the bridge between the body and the quantum field. He teaches that, as I said, when the heart is activated through elevated emotions, it becomes a portal to the quantum field, which is a place of infinite possibility. Elevated emotions can help us to unlock our heart's infinite intelligence. He says that you can't think your way into transformation, you must feel your way there. And the heart also influences epigenetic expression. When the heart is open and coherent, so the brain and the heart are firing in the same type of pattern, they're synced up, the body turns on healing genes that can turn down genes that promote stress and disease in the body. And then I shared these at the event that I did last month, but there are some compelling anecdotal stories and reports that the heart can actually carry memories and this wisdom. And this has been shown and I'd say proven with heart transplant stories. And this phenomenon is sometimes referred to as cellular memory when someone receives a donor heart from someone who's passed away and they take on some of the characteristics, some of the likes, dislikes, hobbies, and emotions, which is really cool. So some of the most well-known stories, the first one is an 8-year-old girl who solved her donor's murder. So she received a heart from a 10-year-old girl who had been murdered. And after this 8-year-old girl received the heart transplant, she started having reoccurring nightmares about her murder, the other girl's murder. And these visions were so vivid and so specific that the mum finally took her to a psychiatrist and they contacted the police. And the details that the girl shared were so precise, including the time, the place, the weapon, what the murderer looked like, that the police were able to identify and convict the killer, confirming that her dreams matched the case. How insane is that? Second one is someone called Claire Sylvia, who was a dancer and a very health conscious woman. She received a heart and lung transplant from an 18-year-old male who died in a motorcycle accident. After the surgery, she developed intense cravings for chicken nuggets, beer, and green peppers. Very random. Foods that she had never enjoyed before. And she also noticed a shift in her personality, feeling more impulsive, feeling more masculine in her energy. And when she tracked down the donor's family, they confirmed that her cravings and her personality type matched their son exactly. And she documented her story in a book called A Change of Heart, if you want to read that. And last but not least is a tragic love story with someone called Sonny Graham, who received a heart transplant from a man who died by suicide. After recovering, Sonny reached out to the donor's widow and they fell in love. They married and seemed so deeply connected. But then years later, Sonny tragically died by suicide in the exact same way that the donor had, raising questions about whether deep emotional or energetic imprints are carried within the heart. Okay, so I 100% believe those stories, and I would love to know what you think, but I'm going to leave you with a few tips on how you can connect into your heart and hopefully experience some of the magic that I have in my own life. The first one is in terms of nutrition. So when we have a healthier body, we can meditate better, we can feel more in touch with our body, we're less in our head because we can live more present in the moment. But when you have chronic pain, chronic fatigue, you just tend to disconnect. So this is why I always say start with the physical health, and you'll find that your spiritual development often comes much more easily as a side benefit. So foods that are the color red, which links to the heart, it's typically the color that we're told. We have to remember, like, why is this? I think there's just this ancient wisdom, and when we think of the heart being a key part of the cardiovascular system and blood, red pigmented foods really help with that. And the antioxidants found in things like tomatoes, red peppers, beetroots, raspberries, apples, and red onions, these really support the heart physically and also energetically, supporting the heart chakra. Number 2 is every day connecting with your heart and feeling into those elevated emotions. This could be at the end of a meditation or just multiple points throughout the day, closing down your eyes, just tuning out of the external world for a moment and going inward. Placing your hand on your heart can sometimes help you to feel a little bit more connected. Taking some deep breaths to slow down the brainwave states, and then you can think of things that you're grateful for. You could imagine someone in front of you that you love. It could be love towards yourself. You could send it outwards and also reflect it back in and just see if there's any messages that come up from your heart. Number 3 is to work through any deeper traumas or blockages that could be holding you back and having your heart closed off. This could be former heartbreaks. It could be someone that you need to forgive. It could be that you need to forgive yourself. It could be childhood trauma, your relationship with your parents, a memory that you have of being humiliated when you were a child at school. Anything like that, whatever you can let go of, any lower vibrational frequencies and energies like shame, guilt, resentment, anger, when we can release that out of the body, you will naturally feel more elevated and you will naturally be able to experience more happiness day to day. Your body will feel lighter. There's just so many benefits. And last but not least is another physical tip, health-wise, moving your body. Movement promotes blood flow, which promotes circulation and therefore the health of your heart. Things that are cardiovascularly supportive, like a brisk walk. It doesn't have to be running necessarily, even dancing, strength training. If you're getting your heart rate up, that is going to be supportive. So moving your body every single day is also going to help with your heart's physical health, but also energetically keeping it nice and strong. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and it was a little bit of a change, but if you enjoyed it, please let me know. If you're interested in me talking a little bit more about this or similar subjects, I would love to hear from you. So I will see you next week for the next episode.